Welcome to today's Afluencer podcast, where we're going to learn about digital assets, something that I personally need in terms of a plan, and I don't. So we've invited Tom Ervin on. Tom's a founder of Noni Digital, a company that helps in terms of digital asset estate planning. We're going to learn what that is. We're going to learn what opportunities there are for influencers to promote Noni Digital in terms of other parents like me or just general business influencers, people who can help get the word out about this. But first, we're going to dig into it. So Tom, well, first of all, welcome to the podcast. And can you tell me a little bit about Noni Digital?
Yeah, thanks for having us. So have you ever thought about what would happen to your digital assets if something unexpectedly happened to you? So I'm talking about things like your cell phone, your laptop, electronic files that you may have, like your photos in the iCloud, and all of your online accounts, from banking apps to social media. For most people, these digital assets are private, most are intangible, and they are only accessible by them, and for a very good reason. These items make up your digital legacy. It's also known as your digital estate. Noni is a service to help consumers plan and protect their digital estate in case something unexpectedly happens to them.
Makes sense. I have thought about it. I try not to. I always hope that the bus that hit me would run over everything at once, but I guess that's probably unlikely, especially with the cloud storing things, as you had mentioned, right? You just hope, like, hey, if I'm going to go, can something just detonate everything associated with me and we'll just never speak of it again. We won't have to worry about it. The poor wife won't have to worry about all this companies and all this digital stuff out there, right?
It's crazy.
So it's a great need. How'd you come up with the idea then, Tom, for Noni?
Yeah, so Noni was born out of a problem that we witnessed that was created because a former colleague didn't have a digital estate plan. So he had passed away from cancer about 8 years ago. And a few years after that, I noticed that LinkedIn was sending out a blast to all of his connections, congratulating him for his 50th anniversary.
Oh, no.
His company, which was really crass. I mean,
yeah,
he already had a memorial fund by that time, and but it wasn't LinkedIn's fault. They didn't know he had passed away, but it was insensitive all the same and not cool for his family. Then we saw the same email come out again to the day the following year and the year after that. So we decided to research and figure out what's causing the problem, and that's sort of when Noni was born.
Yeah, it makes sense. I had a similar experience. A friend who passed away, and he was very young, and it's weird because he still had a Facebook account out there, and he was a single guy, so there was no one there to manage it or take it down or anything. So it's kind of spooky, right? It's kind of that eerie thing. And like you said, the LinkedIn reminders, that's something you want to just stop with. That's a tough one. So what'd your research find in terms of the root or getting ahead of all this stuff? Because I know from a login standpoint, and I was just talking to my wife yesterday about creating these passwords. We hate when we get logged. Actually, I think it was LinkedIn. She got logged out of, and she's got to get back into it. Or she had someone trying to hack her LinkedIn, so she's got to get back into it. Then she's got to change the password, which is something you'll never remember. And I don't write my passwords down because it's insecure. So my solution is that I just create unique ones, and then I never know what they are. So it's a mess in terms of, I can't even get into my own accounts, let alone someone else. So what's the answer there then?
Yeah, so the problem goes way beyond passwords, right? But it's actually a simple problem. The problem was created because over the past 30 years, we've migrated into the digital age. Okay, we've moved from a paper society to a digital society. And as a result, a whole new category of assets have been created. Those are digital assets. As a result, a series of tactical challenges for survivors have been created when someone passes away, like identifying the digital assets that are left behind, understanding how to access them, and then deciding what to do with them. So as an example, 30 years ago, pretty much all of your assets were tangible and they were easily accessible. So you might have precious photos. Well, they could be found in a family photo album in your home. You had a mailbox, and important correspondence arrived in the form of a physical letter in a mailbox. Today, those photos are in the iCloud, secured with your Apple ID and only known probably to you. And most of your correspondence is delivered via email, typically only accessible by the user. In addition, new intangible assets exist today that didn't exist 30 years ago, like Bitcoin and domains and NFTs. You've got business subscriptions, finance and investment apps, and other digital records that are critical and vital to the ongoing continuity of your digital legacy and your family. So it's clear today that digital assets must be considered when planning your estate. They can no longer be an afterthought. All consumers in the digital age need a digital estate plan to protect these assets if something unexpectedly happens to them.
That makes sense. So humor me with this question here, since I'm a newbie and I should have a will because I have 2 kids and a wife, but I don't. Is this the same as having a will?
Yeah, no. A digital estate plan is not the same as a will. It doesn't replace your will. A digital estate plan simply serves as an extension of your will, but just for your digital assets.
Okay, so is it possible then, can you plan these as part of the will, or is this something separate where, I mean, when I decide to grow up one day and get my act together, I actually need an estate plan, I need the will, but then I also need a digital asset plan?
Yeah, so basically, Noni helps you. It's an easy to use service that helps you privately and securely direct what should happen to each of your digital assets if you die or become incapacitated, okay? It also helps you keep your plans current and private as your digital estate continues to evolve without having to update your will or estate plan. In the case of your incapacitation or demise, Noni, after Noni verifies this event, will distribute your comprehensive instructions for your digital estate to your chosen fiduciaries or loved ones. And then we also provide additional fiduciary services to help close online accounts so as to not burden your loved ones with that. And best of all, Noni works with all existing wills and estate plans, or even if you don't have a will. And basically, Noni allows our clients to rest easy knowing that if something unexpectedly happens to them, their digital estate is going to be taken care of and their families aren't going to be left in the dark.
Yeah, it's great. I guess not to get too morbid with the example, but let's pick on me. And I got my dog here, and let's say we go out for a walk. I get hit by the proverbial bus. Busy's okay. She gets rescued, brought home, all that. What triggers the event? Let's say I've got a Noni plan then. Is it the death certificate where I get carted to the coroner, and then is that what triggers the event when I'm pronounced, hey, he's toast?
That's correct. Your
Okay.
plan stays private until there's an event. If and when there's an event, once we're notified, we have to verify that event just like a life insurance company would. We then have a process which securely distributes your chosen your instructions to your chosen fiduciaries. So it could be, your spouse could receive all of your personal stuff. You may have a business partner that has business subscriptions that your spouse wouldn't know what to do with. So that's basically in general how it works, how the distribution process works.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've got subscriptions that would be a nightmare. I wouldn't wish on anyone, let alone my wife. So the idea then, Tom, I assume, since just because I've been through this, not starting a digital estate planning company, but just starting companies, you look for something and you either don't see that need being met in the market, or you see flaws in the current offerings, and then thick-headed guys like you and me say, okay, hey, I'm going to make a company out of this, right? I'm going to make the product and we're going to do this because there's a gap there. So is that what you saw with Noni, where you're looking around for digital estate planning, digital asset planning, and there was nothing you liked as a solution?
Well, we started looking into the problem just because of the one experience that I had mentioned there. Yeah. And 3-4 years ago, if you Googled estate planning for digital assets, there really wasn't a lot around. Okay. Today, if you Google estate planning for digital assets, you will find tons of blogs from insurance companies, from banks, from attorneys telling you that this is a real problem and you have to do something about it. But they really don't give much advice that's actionable. They just say, hey, write it down and keep it safe somewhere. The problem with that is that your digital estate is constantly evolving and changing with new online accounts, ever-changing credentials, you've got new files. So it's a dynamic problem that has arisen that can't be solved with a static solution like writing it down somewhere. And so that's what we've brought to market, is a dynamic solution to help you create your digital estate plan and to help you keep it up to date.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Can you give me an idea about the cost, just in terms of range? I know it varies, but when I think of a will, and I don't know if this is a regular estate planning, and I don't know if this is accurate anymore or not, but I always had about $2,000. in my head for that will and that whole process. And I'm sure it's higher now. This is a few years ago. What does something like this cost in terms of just price range?
Yeah, well, we have two different models right now, two different subscriptions right now. One is just an annual subscription for $179, and you can also have a lifetime subscription for $579. Both of those can be purchased at a discount if you work through your trusted estate planner or financial advisor.
Yeah, very cool. And then I know you're not a tax professional, neither am I, but just as a business owner, it feels like the type of thing, and everyone can check with their CPAs, but it feels like the type of thing that would be a write-off, or it could be a business expense potentially.
Sure. It could be a business expense, especially if you have, assets that are business related. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So listeners, check with your CPA. Neither Tom nor I are tax professionals, but yeah, that feels like a conversation should we have to with your accountant. So Tom, let's switch gears on the influencer side then. So this is the type of product, as you and I were chatting last week, I think it was when we connected, and we're kind of reviewing the landscape there. What types of influencers are we looking for to promote? I mean, there's a wide range, right? You could have your business people, or you could have your parenting influencers. You kind of want people of that same ilk, but it's different on the interest side, right? It feels a little wide, but what are you thinking, and who should apply to your collab for Noni?
Yeah. So before that, I think, just to talk a little bit about where we think our potential customers are there. And that is really folks that are starting to plan families. Okay. So the parenting would be one. They are preparing, they're saving for their future. They're preparing for the good times, but they also know that they need to prepare for something that might happen unexpectedly. So they're buying life insurance, they're getting a will, and they're taking care of business and protecting their families. So influencers that would have that sort of a following, maybe financial advice, legal advice, parenting, that would be probably a good avenue.
Great. Yeah, makes sense. Wish I would have had those influencers. I might be in better shape, but like we got Noni here as a solution. Any types of follower counts or platform preferences or anything like that you're looking for, or kind of keeping it open-ended from an conversation?
We're keeping it open. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So yeah, for our influencers again listening, I mean, this is great, especially like Tom said, for the parenting, business focus. I know there's overlap between these two as well. I think of like the young kids or getting ready to have the kids, or it could be like me with the young kids that almost aren't young anymore, and just you need to get on something like this. So
I mean, just to put it in perspective, so today we think there's over 100 million consumers in the US alone that have already prepared for the unexpected with life insurance and a will, but they have no plan at all for their digital assets. None. So it's a very broad market.
Yeah, it feels that way. I mean, it feels like if you surveyed 100 people who should have something like this, 0 would have it. I don't 1, right? It would be a very small percentage. And like you said, then if you're looking at the people who have their other ducks in a row, the life insurance, the regular estate planning, and then they don't have this, right? And this is kind of a no-brainer, where especially if you can walk them through, and you've got this digital solution for it, which is excellent. Yeah, this has been great, Tom. So we'll put the link to your collab right under this on the YouTube video, so our influencers can see the latest and apply. And I'll get you out of here on this one, Tom. Where'd the name? I'm always interested. Where'd the name come up with? Where'd you come up with the name for Noni?
Yeah, so a few years ago, while we were deep in research, one of our co-founder's sisters passed away, and her family nickname was Noni. And so we found it fitting to name the brand after her and in her memory.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a nice tribute, and it's a great name, very pretty name, and to get memorable, and then to get the 4 characters, that's gold these days. I've never done less than 8. So getting down to 4 is excellent. That's great. Well, thank you, Tom. Appreciate you joining us, and we'll stay in touch on the Noni Digital side and the influencer journey here, and then would encourage our parenting, business, and related influencers to, apply. It's a really great product, and like we were saying, the key is just getting the word out about it, because it's a solution everyone needs. And then you have, so we say, people like me who are a little behind on this type of thing that need to be reached.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
All right, cool. Thanks again, Tom.
All right. Have a good one.